Hi guys, it's Becky, and I'm going to be making a mess of bracelets today. It's a bracelet party, and all my friends are invited. And the type of bracelet that I wanted to make today is a goddess style bracelet. Because when I opened up the curated bead box, this is the curated bead box for January 2024, but we got it here in December. That's great and that's fine. I noticed that these two beads go so well together, and I thought that they would look great paired next to each other in a goddess style bracelet. So that's my inspiration for making all of these, is this one with both of these two beads that would go together really well with that. So I decided to bring out my January curated bead box, our Deco the Halls box from, it's the Soft Flex design kit that we just opened, and it's got all of these Art Deco beads, and I think I'm going to be using these pearls, but I think I want to do something a little bit different from like some of the other kind of goddess type bracelets where it's all the way around. I think I only want half goddess style and the other half like a regular bracelet. So I'm going to play around with that, see if I can make it work for me. And that way I don't have to use all of these pearls. I can use them for something else, and I can incorporate some of my other beads in it. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this one, is have a half and half. So we're going to save that one for a little bit later in the video. But I also wanted to pull out my bargain bead box. This was our December bargain bead box. It was the snowfall one, and I've got a couple of beads here that I think would look great together in that type of bracelet design. So I'm going to be pulling both of these guys out. We're going to use some of these clasps in here, and we're going to make a pretty goddess style bracelet with the bargain bead box. And I've also got my Sam's bead box, and I'm considering using some of these fire polish beads and cathedral beads in the same bracelet. And I thought this would also be a great time for me to grab that beautiful button that we got in this box and to be able to use that for this type of bracelet as well. So we'll be doing that. If that doesn't work out for me, I actually got my extras. Where are my extras? From Sam's Bead Shop. Did I put them away already? Where are they? Oh yeah. And I got more of these 6mm fire polish beads, so I could do just them in one bracelet if I wanted to do that. So we'll see how it works with the cathedral beads, but I think both of those together would be great. And like, that's the thing about the goddess beads, is you can do two separate colors, or you can do all one color, or something like that. And then I've got my dollar bead box. This is was this December or January? I can't remember. It's probably the January one, because they send them out pretty early. But it has all of these like same kind of colors that we see in the Deco the Halls. And so I've got my dollar bead bag beads here, and these are the 4mm fire polish beads, and I was thinking about using these citrine colored and these gold colored ones for that. And while I've got this open, I'm just going to go ahead and open this up and get both of these out here and into a space on my mat so that I've got them ready to go when we do that. And I actually have some ideas for a necklace and also for some earrings with these, but we'll do an earring party because there's some things that I want to do with earrings here, 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 and here. So it might be fun to do, like, you know, a whole bunch of earrings from a whole bunch of the bead boxes that we've got. So I'm going to just pull out those two colors, and we're going to do those. So I've got those set over there, and I'm ready to find the bead that fell. Maybe not. Maybe later. Okay, so I'm going to be pulling these guys out, and now some of the things that I have that I'm going to add in addition to that is I've got some closed jump rings. I've got some copper ones in a bunch of different sizes here, and I've got some gold colored, some stainless steel colored, and some bronze colored. And there are several different sizes, so I'll have plenty to choose from. And I believe the reason that you want the closed jump rings is so that they don't spring open on you in during your making, or even afterwards, when they, you know, curve around your wrist. So I'm going to be adding these to what we're making with. I've also got the champagne soft flex. That is the color of the medium beading wire that I got in the Deco the Halls kit. So we're going to pull that out. We're going to be using that for some stringing. I've also got this dark blue lapis. This is the very last of the spool, and I think it's long enough for some of it. So that might go with some of our blue color bracelets. I've also got this gorgeous turquoise color beading wire that we could probably use. But for this one, I wanted to use stretch cord. So I'm going to be doing a goddess bracelet with stretch cord on this one. And I've got since it's going to use 2 strands, I'm going to pull out one of these gold colored bails to hide the knot. And then we can attach one of these charms to it as well. And I think I'm liking the purple charm for this. It's a nice combination of the pink and the blue together. Let me see if I can get this purple flower charm out of here. Oof. It is not coming out nicely. There we go. So we can have those together. And while I've got this open, I'm going to go ahead and pull out these pink and blue beads and the stretch cord. So I'm going to pull out my beads, I'm going to get them up here, and then I'm going to move my camera focus so it's just here and it won't confuse the camera's autofocus, and it'll be easier for y'all to see what I'm doing after I get all of these out there and all of these open. So I'm just going to pull out the stretch cord that comes with this box in the Finding Starter Kit, and I'm going to use that for my bracelet with the curated bead box. Let me put this away so it's out of the way. All right. Now, this might actually be the one that we start with, actually. So let me leave these out here so I don't have to move them up and move them back. I'll leave these down here because we'll probably start with this one. Let's pull out our stuff from Sam's bead box. And there were these really, really gorgeous. And this is why I had to get more of these, because they've got like the dark blue and the turquoise, the aqua color. And they are just an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous color of fire polish beads, and that's why I got a second strand. I needed to have more than just the one strand in here, and I'm just separating them out, trying to get just these and not the aqua ones. So we've got all of these here, and let me pull out these cathedral beads, and hopefully these are the same size and shape, or close enough that they work well next to each other in the goddess bracelet. If it doesn't work out for me, if I don't like the way that they work together, then I'll pull out that second strand of this, these fire polish beads, and we'll use that while I've got this open. Let's pull out our and this is the Winter Wanderer bead box. I love this button so much. I'm going to put these up here in their own little section. Whoop. All right. Wait, which one is which? Is this side or that side? It's like half and half. It's close enough. It's good enough. Okay, and then we're gonna pull out these beads from. We've got our little miracle beads, and these are the ones that have that division halfway through that gives it that shine. Pull out one of these toggles for our closure. So we're going to be using these and also these, and they're not exactly the same size, and I'm hoping that that doesn't impact it negatively. If it does, I might be able to do the whole bracelet just with these on it. So we'll see. We will see. I also, if I need to, I've got my companion bundle for this that may have some beads that are the same size and shape, and so it will work better than one or the other of these. So let me pull out that companion bundle real quick. There it is. Okay, and no, I don't have any that are the same size and shape from this. That's okay, because we're gonna make this work. We're gonna make it work. It's nice to have things that are different sizes and shapes when you're creating. Sometimes it's nice to have things that are the same but different. All right, so that's the one from the bargain bead box. That was the sparkling snowfall one. I'm just gonna get these moved up here so that they are ready to go when we move on to that one. That's just, it's a lot of beads, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so let's move that out of the way so it's not taking up too much space. And now we've got our Deco the Halls box. I'm going to move these out of the way while I get my pearls out. And I'm not going to need all of these, probably, but I'm just pulling out some of them, and I'm going to have these because I want to do a half and half bracelet. I'm going to have these, a couple of these sparkly black beads, I think, on the other side. That guy, and some of those. I think that's gonna, no, not that one. That's too long. What's a good focal to have in the middle of there? Maybe one of, hold on, because I want it to be like gold. Ooh. How about one of these guys for the transition between the two? And I'll use that. I'll make a little drop with this. Maybe. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how it comes together when we pull that together. I've got my little closure right there for that. Okay. I think like I have what I need to get started. So that's going to be from the Soft Flex Deck of the Halls box. All right. So this one, let's get started with our goddess bracelet. And these are just such bright colors, and I kind of love them. Kind of love them a lot. And I'm going to just focus in on this area so that we're not distracted by what's going on all the way around the rest of it. For tools, I'm going to be using some scissors and probably some glue for my stretch bracelet. When we do that, when I do my ones that I'm stringing on beading wire, I'm going to be using some flush cutters and my magical crimpers, and I've got some crimp tubes here that we can use as well. So I've got my bail bead here. Let's grab a open jump ring from here to attach it. That way it'll be attached and ready to go before we get started with the rest of it. And I'm just going to use my pliers, some chain nose pliers and my wide nose pliers to open my jump ring, put my bail on, and my charm. And now that's ready to go. And since this is going to be using two different strands, I'm going to use the method that I like to use for 2-strand stretch bracelets. Let me just stretch out this stretch cord a little bit so that it's pre-stretched before we start stringing. All right, so it's ready to go. 1, 2, and a little bit more for good measure. I just did twice around my hand, not around my wrist, although around my wrist might be better. 1, 2, plus more for tying. All right, I'm gonna put the rest of this away. And these are, I believe, they 5mm beads. I think they are 5mm. So I'm going to want probably 6mm jump rings to go on either side of it. Yeah, that's going to work. So let me get these out of here. That should work. And so before I begin, I'm going to find the center of my beading wire by matching up my ends and coming down here. And because I don't want this cord to go through the next bead that I'm putting it on, I want it to stay outside of it so that I can tie it on later at the end of it. I'm going to grab this lobster clasp and I'm just going to hook that on there. You can use anything that you can remove later without cutting the cord to hold this. If you've got like a locking stitch marker or something, lobster clasps are just easy. I've got it right here waiting to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just a single bead and I'm going to put both ends through my bead if I can. Come on, buddy. I'm hoping the hole on this is large enough. You know what I might need to do is find one of these beads from my thing that has a large enough hole that both of these can go through both ends of the thing. because this isn't going through that hole. I think one strand will fit through that. Let me see what I've got on this. And that way I can have a beginning and an ending bead with a larger hole. Ooh, or this one. Oh, maybe that'll work. I was just grabbing from here in the bead mix because some of these have larger holes than the others. So let's try this one, see if it will work, because I just want something that I can put both strands of the stretch cord through together at the same time. That is so much easier. Yes. Okay, so that's my beginning bead, and it's just going to be right there at the end. All right, and then I'm going to put one of these jump rings. There. And on one of these, I'm going to put on the blue bead on one strand, and then another jump ring through both. Like that. And then on the other strand, I'm going to put the pink bead. Like that. So that they kind of rock in opposite ways from each other. Let me grab another jump ring for both strands. So jump ring is both strands, and then it's alternating each color for each end of the cord. So this cord is my blue end. And now we do both of them. So it's going to be a little fiddly. That's okay. We can have fun with it. And then this end is my pink bead. All right, now I'm just going to repeat this until I get to the end, and I'll show you how to finish this up with the stretch cord. So they sit basically next to each other, and the jump rings kind of separate them. So I'm going to continue doing this where I put on my blue bead, put on a jump ring, put on my pink bead, put on a jump ring, blue bead, jump ring, pink bead, jump ring. And the jump ring always goes on both strands, and the beads go on a single strand. And when this is long enough, I will come back. Okay, and I think I have this at long enough now. The way that I figure out if it's long enough is I take both of these ends right here and I put it through, just through the wide hole in my my lobster clasp that's holding the other end of this. And I just check to see if it is going to close without stretching the stretch bracelet, because when it's sitting on your wrist, you don't want it to be stretching. You only want it to stretch when it's going over your wrist. But if it's sitting there, you want it to be nice and relaxed. And that's the way you make your stretch bracelets last, by making sure that it's not under tension when it doesn't need to be. But that is definitely going to be long enough, and it will also give it a little bit of space for my knot and my bail that I put together before with that. So what I'm going to do is I want both of these strands to come together on the other end, And I went ahead and grabbed one of these beads that have a much wider hole so that I can put that together. But I want to pop one of these jump rings on between this bead and the other, just for the sake of making it look cohesive and nice. And this is a purple bead. I started with the pink one, I'm ending with a purple one. It kind of takes both of the colors, the blue and the pink, and mixes it in one, and that's kind of why I picked the purple flower too. If I can get both of these ends of the stretch cord in here. I'm gonna just stretch this a little bit because it makes it slightly thinner so that I can try and get this through that hole alongside of it. There we go. Now I've got both ends of my stretch cord through, and I've got that there. Now what I want to do is take both ends of the stretch cord and put them through this bail bead like that. Then I'm going to take one end of the stretch cord and put it through the loop of the stretch cord over here, not through the lobster clasp, just through that loop right there. And I'm going to take off the lobster clasp. And I'm going to take that end of my stretch cord, I'm going to put it back through here. I'm going to tie my knot on this side of the bail bead. So if you look at it, the loop that we had the lobster clasp holding, I'm going to stick that up next to the other thing so it's out of the way. It's on this side, and where I'm going to tie my knot is going to be over here on this side. And before I tie the knot, I have my E6000 glue ready to go. I have a little piece of scrap wire that I'm going to be using to apply my E6000 glue, and I have some paper to put underneath all of this so that if there are any drips and gloops and glorps that happen, it will happen on the paper and not on my beading mat. So let's get this tied first. I'm going to do an overhand knot first. Tie that, give it a little stretch, and then I'm going to do, it's just like an overhand knot again, but on my second pass I'm going to go around twice. So I went left over right there, now I'm going right over left, but I'm doing it twice like that, and that gives you a surgeon's knot. And I'm pulling now on the knot and from the other direction. Scooching this along either way. I'm going to put both ends of this through the other side of this very wide bail bead. Because that's where the knot is going to sit, is right in the middle of there. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and get some glue ready. Just gonna take the first little bit of it off of there first, so it's a little bit fresher, a little bit stickier. And I'm going to go ahead and apply it both to the top side and the bottom side of this knot, all the way around. And let me go grab my scissors. only doing one stretch bracelet, so that's the last that I'm going to need to use this glue with. Everything else I'm going to be using things that don't require adhesive. But I'm just going to grab my scissors, and I'm not going to be stretching any of this because I want to give the glue time to cure. But this is my first goddess bracelet, and I used the stretch cord to do this, and beads and a charm from the curated bead box. For January. This was the January one. So I'm going to set this aside and move this aside, and we are going to pull out some beads from another project and get started on that. All right. Oof. These are just a ton of these. Let me get them moved out of the way. All right, so I'm trying to remember where we were with these projects and what we were going to be doing. I think one of them was going to be with these beads from the bargain bead box, where we had these really pretty miracle beads, mermaid glass, however you want to call them. And then we also have these frosted crackle agate beads that are just beautiful, I think. And so I was going to use some beading wire for these and just do a simple bracelet with some clasps and some beading wire. And for these, I have some kind of fancier jump rings. They are, where are they? Where are my silver ones that have the cool effect on them? Let me go find those. I'll be right back. Okay, now these are a set that I picked up on Amazon from Panda Haul. Usually those are pretty good findings, but it's got a bunch of different sizes of jump rings. Are you taped closed? No. So you've got some large ones, and these are all closed jump rings. And they all have this cool texture to them. And there we go. These are the ones that I want. Because they're kind of like, I don't know. It's making me think of icy things when I look at the way that the light glistens on it. And I think that goes with the theme of icy, wintry things. So let's get these. It's just the way that the metal is cut. It gives it these facets, and it just adds a little bit of special to them. And here's the thing: is these are closed jump rings still. They will not open unless I cut them. And you can use open jump rings, but you'd want to use more than one between each of your beads when you do that. So let me grab, I think for this one, I'm going to want this blue lapis wire. So let me grab that and some what are they called? The things that grab onto the thing. The crimps. So I'm going to get this started with one end of this with a crimp or two. There they are. Got them. And I'm going to crimp this on with my magical crimper and some 2x2 crimp tubes. And then we're going to start stringing this along. And like, we're not going to need any glue for this. I'm going to put one end all the way at the bottom. Plop this crimp tube on. And I'm going to use my magical crimper to make a crimp ball out of this crimp tube by squishing it down almost flat, but it has that concavity. And then when you rotate it and squish it from other angles, it flattens out those rough edges, because I hate rough edges on my crimps. It is the worst. Like, I can feel them. They dig into my skin and scratch them. And even some crimp covers, like, they might have a rough edge or two, but that makes a nice round crimp bead, so it's going to hold just fine. All right, I'm going to start with one of these miracle or mermaid glass beads. Whatever you want. I've heard it both ways. And I think I can put both strands on here. Let's find out. This is the medium beading wire. So it's 0.019 millimeter, or yeah, 0.019. I'm just gonna push it through. All right, good thing that we're not doing this all the way through with both strands. I'm gonna pull it down to the bottom, and now I'm gonna separate them. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing with these, where we put both ends through a jump ring, and then we put one end, or we put a bead on one end, and then both ends through a jump ring, and then the other end, the opposite end, gets the other bead. So it alternates like that. And is this bead too small? Are these jump rings too big? Let me do a couple more of these, and I might have to readjust how I'm doing this. So I want to see how this works, because remember, these beads are not the same size. One of them is smaller than the other. So something that might work with two beads this size might not work with these as well. And these jump rings might be too big for both of them. Oop. Yes, now blue. It's reserving the right to change my mind at any time while I'm doing this. This feels like these jump rings are a little bit too big, maybe? Or it's just this one here at the end that I'm having this issue with, and it's because it's gonna be weird. Let me do a few more and see how I like the way they look smushed up next to each other, because I think it's gonna work. Really do. And the hard part is not mixing around which strand goes for which bead. Put them together. And then this one is white. Put them together. And this is kind of the rhythm that you can go into with it. And then this one is blue. It's not as meditative as some repetitive stringings, because you do have to be present enough to know which strand you're putting your next bead on, but it can be meditative. Actually, you know what? I don't hate it. No, in fact, I kind of love it a lot. All right, so I'm going to do this until I get it to the right length that I want it to be, and then we'll get it finished up. All right, now I believe this is going to be long enough. And I'm ending at a point where I can put both strands through a white bead. I started off with a blue bead. I want to end with a white bead. And I'm just double checking my length real quick. And yeah, once I put the clasp on, this is definitely going to be long enough once I've got that extra bead there and a clasp to be able to close this. So let's go ahead and put both strands of wire through one of these white beads. And that actually fits a lot better than through the Miracle Glass bead. And that should snug that up. I'm not going to snug it up too much because I want there to be some movement. And also, because these white beads are a little bit smaller, I'm just kind of bending this so that the strands can have some movement between them. And if you look real close, you can see that blue lapis color. That's why I chose the blue lapis, was because even with just the little glimpses of it, it still goes really well with the color scheme for this bracelet. All right, so on the other end, I am going to put both ends of my wire through a crimp tube. Come on, buddy. Let's smush that down so it's almost next to that one white bead, but not quite completely next to it. And then I'm going to put one of the ends through the other toggle end. And I'm going to want to leave a pretty decent loop on here. And no, we cannot fit 3. Can we fit 3? We can. We can fit 3 strands through that white agate one. I want to put a pretty decent loop on here so that this has some articulation so it can move around. And I think that that's going to be a decent loop for that. All right, and let's scooch just a little bit closer. But also I'll get a bit of about a fingernail's width between the bead and the crimp tube so that I can fit my crimper right there next to it. I'm gonna do my first little smoosh and then rotate it, do another smoosh, rotate and smoosh. That's all we're doing. That gives us a nice rounded crimp bead that is secure. And I can use my wire cutters to cut off my excess wire here coming out of this bead and coming out of the crimp right up here at the top. I think this one was easier than the stretch cord one was. But wow, I really, really love the effect that these gave with this. Oh, it kind of twists a little bit. That's fine. I love the textured jump rings. Now I'm going to put a link to all of my little collections of where I got each of these closed jump rings from, so that if you wanted to purchase them, you can. I got them from Amazon. I got them at a pretty decent price from Amazon, and I'll put those links in the description if you wanted to find those. So that is my second goddess bracelet. First one was the stretch cord one with 2 strands of stretch cord. Then our second one was one using some clasps and beading wire. So we've got that. And then I think the third one we do We'll also be using some beading wire. Let me move these beads out of the way and get that one out here. It's one with Sam's bead box. That's the one that I want to do next. With this gorgeous, gorgeous button. Look how beautiful that button is. Just absolutely gorgeous. And while I love like turquoise and silver and how beautiful that looks together, and that's what we've got with like these aqua / turquoise cathedral beads. Turquoise and copper have like my whole heart. So I'm gonna go grab these copper jump rings from this little collection. And I hope this is enough for that. It probably is. We'll find out. If it isn't, then we'll switch over to silver because I definitely have enough of those. And for this, I think I had decided I wanted to use the turquoise wire for that. And if I do once around my wrist and then just double that, that should be more than enough wire. A little bit extra for making loops and crimping and other things if we need it. Okay, so let me grab out my crimp tubes again, because I'm going to crimp on the button because that's going to be my closure on this on one end. And I'm fine using the copper ones, or the silver ones with this because there's some silver highlights here. It'll be kind of a mixed metals thing. Also because I don't want to go looking for my copper crimp tubes. But I am going to use this copper with this. So let's get our button. I'm in love with this button that came in Sam's bead box. It is absolutely beautiful. And did you notice that this shank has 4 openings, so it goes through this direction, but it also goes through this direction. And this would be fantastic. Just a really clever way to add, maybe to use this as part of a focal for like a necklace focal. We're not doing that in this tutorial, but I thought that was really interesting that that's how this button was in here. All right, so it's going to be pretty similar to the other one. I'm using these two, and I'm just going to be separating them with the copper jump rings. And again, they're closed jump rings. And like usually I use closed jump rings for stitch markers when I'm knitting because they don't catch on my knitting. They come in different millimeter sizes, so they'll fit on my needles, and they are unobtrusive and easy to work with. So let me get this on here, but I'm using them instead for this. So closed jump rings have a couple of different uses out there. All right, I'm just getting my crimp tube on here, sliding this down to the center, and we're going to want this button to have some articulation. This feels like it's a little too tight. It doesn't articulate as well as I want it to. So I'm just going to open that up a little bit, and this articulates a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp there. All right. And it's raviolied. Make sure I get the good angles while I'm rotating and smushing to get this all the way around for my round guy. All right, so I think I have more of these ones than I do the other. So I'm going to put both ends. I'm going to start and end with these. And the reason I say I have more of them is I have a whole other strand of these. So I can bust that open if I need to. So we've got both strands through there. Let's open up our jump ring cache. Like I said, I love aqua and copper, or turquoise and copper. It is one of my favorite metal / color combinations. And there's a bit of copper color in here. So it's going to go really well. All right, so the first couple always are a little bit awkward. You got to keep putting a few of them on if you want to see how it's really going to look. So it starts, you know, rocking back and forth between the two. So let's grab fire polish. So I've got a cathedral bead on one end, on one side, and then we put both ends through a jump ring. And on the other side is the cathedral bead. So it's cathedral, jump ring, fire polish, jump ring, cathedral, jump ring, fire polish, jump ring. That's the order that we're going to do this in. And again, you just have to remember which strand, which bead goes on. If you're doing it with multiple colors, if it's all like the same beads and all the same colors, then rock on. You just have to pay attention to which one you put a bead on last. You know? Right, left, or top, bottom. However you are looking at it, because things change depending on your point of view. And I love this again. Wow, I did it again. I picked some good beads. Oh my goodness, look at it. Look how beautiful. Oh my gosh. And you know what? I have zero regrets about using the copper ones, because they look amazing. They just look amazing. I'm so happy with that. It makes my heart happy to have those right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and here I am getting mixed up as far as it's this one, that's the one that I need to add, and it's a fire polish. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm totally going to get mixed up and forget what I'm doing next if I'm trying to talk to y'all while I'm doing it, but also you're going to get really bored watching me string this whole thing since I'm doing basically the same thing over and over again. I'm going to go ahead and get this to the right length, and I will show you how to finish this up, because I'm not going to be adding another closure on the other end. I'm going to show you how to make a little loop out of this soft flex wire that will go around the button on the other end. And that's what we're going to use for our closure. So I will get this strung up. I'll show you how to make that loop that goes around the button, and then we'll move on to our next ones. And the next two, actually the next three, are going to be kind of different. Not the way that we've already made it. I mean, the stretch bracelet was kind of different, but we're also going to be doing just the stuff between the beads a little bit different on our next one after that. So let me get this all strung up, and then we will get to our different variations of the goddess bracelet after we finish this. All right, and that's all my cathedral beads on here. Like I said, I have more of the fire polish than I do the cathedral beads, but also I'm just doing a fit check real quick. And if I add one more fire polish here and make a loop, that is going to be the perfect amount of beads to fit on my 7.5-inch wrist. If you have a larger wrist, you might need to add a few extra beads. If you have a smaller wrist, then you probably won't need as many as I have on here. So I'm just going to pop another jump ring on here to separate this last cathedral bead with my last fire polish bead. And then I'm going to put both strands of my beading wire through the fire polish bead at the same time and slide it down to the end. All right, now just like with the other one, this is how I'm ending it. It's very, very similar to the way I ended the one with this, only instead of attaching the clasp, I'm just going to be making a loop. So let me grab my crimp tube. And I'm going to bend one of these loops back into the crimp tube right here. And if it'll go through the fire polish bead, I'll go through there too. And if not, that's fine. Nope, it looks like it is not going through the fire polish bead. So we'll just bend it back here and have it end there. Oop, it didn't even go through. Well, there we go. All right. Now before I crimp this, I'm going to be adjusting the size so that it fits around the button. And what we need it to do is, because the shank is going to hold it, the loop needs to fit around like that. So I'm going to pull on this a little bit. Make sure that it'll fit over it even when the shank is in the way. I'm going to tighten it just a little bit more. Okay, that is perfect. It still slides easily, but it's not going to pop out. So now that I have my loop the right size that I want it, I'm going to go ahead and grab my crimpers, and I am going to crimp right here on the other side of this loop. And that is one of the reasons that I chose the turquoise wire, was because it goes and matches basically with the rest of these beads. It doesn't look weird to have a turquoise loop right there. You could do a beaded loop if you wanted to do some seed beads on that goes around the buttons, but I find you don't really need to with these. There you go. Goddess bracelet with beading wire and jump rings and Sam's bead box. So that is the third goddess bracelet that we've made today. We made our stretch cord one with the curated bead box. We made a beading wire one with the bargain bead box, and then another beading wire one. And these go great together, by the way. I mean, that's one of the beauties of having two bead boxes that are similar colors, is that then you can make like some stacking bracelets that go together. Even though they've got different colors, they still go together. So I'm going to put that one over there and this one over here. And I think I want to do a craft wire one using these 4mm fire polish beads from the dollar bead box. I grabbed these like jonquil color ones. They're these real light matte yellow. Really pretty, pretty color. I grabbed them out of the box, and then I grabbed these opaque gold ones. And I think what I want to do with this is grab some 22 gauge craft wire, and I think I'm gonna grab some black craft wire to go with this. All right, so I have some gold craft wire that I'm going to be using with this. It is 22 gauge as well, and I've gone ahead and cut off about 30 inches of that. And then I've got some 22 gauge black craft wire that I'm going to be using instead of jump rings between each of these beads. So the gold is what we're going to be stringing the beads onto, and then the black, it's also what we're going to be making our little hook enclosure with. And then our black is going to be going in between them. And that's something that you can do if you have craft wire, but you don't have jump rings, or you don't have the right kind of jump rings, or you don't want to use all your jump rings just for one bracelet. All right, so I am going to actually warm this up a little bit and stretch it out some. It's got some bumps in it. Let's get this guy stretched out, because I'm going to want to find the middle of this and make a little loop. And you can use anything to make the loop with. If you've got like a 6-step bail making pliers, you can use one of the loops on there for that. You can use the fat part of your round nose pliers. You could use the end of like a paintbrush or a pen or something like that to make a loop with when you get there in the middle of it. And so I'm just going to find the middle of my wire right down here at the very bottom. Just going to pull on that with my finger just to make a little bit of a U shape. And since this is handy, just going to form that around the end of this paintbrush. I think I want it to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to move down to a smaller part of my paintbrush. Tighten that up a little bit. There we go. That's a nice little loop. All right, so right there where it meets, where are my pliers? I'm going to need some pliers for this. I'm going to be using my chain nose pliers, probably some of these, to flatten out my little loop there at the end to work harden it. I'm going to be also using my flush cutters when I get around to cutting things. And I might use my round nose pliers. We'll see. We will see. All right, but I'm going to just, where this meets, use my chain nose pliers, get one of these guys to stand straight up like that, like a lollipop head. And this other end, see, I'm going to grasp my little round part in my pliers so it doesn't move. And I'm going to start wrapping this. Now this is very long, so it's going to catch on everything on my desk, but I'm going to wrap it around this, and I'm going to go move away from the camera. You're not going to watch me wrapping because I don't want to deal with it catching on my desk. So you're going to miss this part, but imagine it. All right. There we go. So now that that is done, I'm going to bend this out a little ways, bend this down towards the direction that we're going, because these are going to need to be parallel to each other while we're working. See, I just wrapped it around that a little bit to secure it. And before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and give this little a little clampy-tampy right here, not where it crosses, just over here where the circle part is. My flat nose, wide nose pliers, just to work harden that a little bit and reinforce the circle. All right, now for this, because we're not going to need to be sliding on a jump ring in between each of our beads, I can go ahead and just string a bunch of beads on each end of this and then kind of bend up the ends so that they don't slide off, and then we can wire wrap our black wire onto it. So I'm gonna just string these guys on one side and then the gold ones on the other side. And once I've got what I feel is kind of enough, maybe it'll be all of them, maybe it'll be half of them, maybe I'll just put them all on here, and then if I've got extras, they'll come off when we finish up the bracelet, because I am not sure how many of these I'm going to need for a bracelet to fit my wrist. I'm sure I could do some math right now, but I don't feel like doing that. So let me get these strung on. I'm going to just put beads on each side of these. You guys don't need to watch this. You've seen bead stringing before. And then I will meet you right back after we get them on here. Okay, so I added all of my check glass beads to both ends of this. And when it was about as long as I probably want a bracelet plus a clasp to be, I brought both ends of this together and just wrapped one end around the other and left this end straight. And I will make a little hook on the end that will go into this hoop, after I have finished wrapping these beads with my black wire. Now with my black wire, I went ahead and cut off about a wingspan's worth from the spool, and then I wrapped it just around my 3 fingers in order to make it a little bit easier to wrap with, because I just don't want a big long thing of wire swinging around, knocking everything off my desk and getting caught on things. So I'm going to start it here at the end, and to start it, I'm just going to hold it over here and wrap this end next to the previous wrap. And then I can cut off my excess for that wire later after we get this done. But I wanted to make sure that the beads were under a little bit of tension from this knot as we're working with them. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go across the top and then up, kind of making a V shape. Then we're going to go back up to that top spot there. And then when I come back down here, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to go up here to the next one, and then down here to this one, back up to that first top one. And then when I come back down here, I'm going to move on to the next couple over there on the top. And since I've already got a line over here, I'm going to move on to the next bead. And then now that I'm over here on this part, I'm going to move on to this one. Now this bracelet is going to have one side that's the right side and one side that's the wrong side. It's not going to be like the other ones where you could have either side facing, but it's also going to be more of a bangle that we're going to go ahead and shape ourselves after we are finished with it. There we go. And then up to the next one. And you just, like with most wire wrapping, go slow. Have some care. I'm holding on to this and pinching it with my fingers so it doesn't twist. If you need to use your thumb to help guide the wire where you want it to go, you can do that. I just want to make sure that we get a zigzag on both sides, top and bottom, before we move on to the next one. And you can see it just goes around twice on the other side. And that does actually make it so much easier to work with if it's in this little bundle, and I can gently unstretch a couple of them if I need to, so that we can, I'm catching it on this. There we go. I may have stretched that out a little prematurely. So we can avoid any kinks or anything like that with our wire. This black wire fits right in, black and gold, with our Art Deco feel that we were getting, the vibe that we got with that box. And this will easily be something that I can wear with other pieces that I make from that box. This is a great way to add a pop of color too if you have some colored craft wire, like a little pop of magenta or something like that. Because you don't always get black or even magenta colored jump rings. So using some colored craft wire is a great way to do this. To add that. Really hoping that a wingspan's worth was long enough. I'm getting close to the end of my wire, but not quite close to the end of my bracelet. I wonder if I will be able to add some in. So maybe a wingspan and a couple more inches next time. All right. I'm just twisting it because it seems to be twisting from the way that I was holding it. And I'm going to pull off some more black wire, and I'm going to start from the other end and meet myself right here. it's supposed to go. Let's go. You know how everyone who works with wire is always like, you can always cut some off, but you can't always add more. Well, I am definitely testing that theory. It's entirely possible that I will need to refilm this with the correct amount of wire. Let's find out. Let's find out if I can add wire partway through this and if it will affect how this goes. All right. Now, I have it completely wrapped, but now I need to figure out what to do with this wire around the back. I think I might slip this end of the wire. Just going to loosen this up a little bit so that this end of the wire can get put through the back of that. And pulls tight. That. I want that there, not at the other place. It should hold its shape. And I know I'm pulling out some of the, there we go. Now, there we go. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this. I think what I need to do is slide this end of my wire under here as well. Come on, buddy. Go the other way. and pull that taut. Without kinking. There we go. Let's cut that flush right next to it. Right next to it. Aha! I added more wire afterwards. Good job, me. Let me cut my excess from here and smush that end in carefully. Now let's make a little hook on the other end of this for our bracelet. What do you guys think? Is the black too busy? I just wanted something that would contrast with all of the gold that we were using, and also go with some of the other like Art Deco-y kind of beads that we were going to be using this winter. All right, and this is poking out up here at the top. I'm going to wrap around that when I make my hook. Let's bend our hook not too far. There. Let's bend that down. All right. Now I'm holding this. Gonna cross there. And I'm going to go all the way around this with a real big, fat, messy wrap. All the way down. I'm just tightening my little bar that I've made here. My 22 gauge wire. Let's give this a little bit of a work harden just to make it a little bit firmer so that when I form it into a hook, I'm going to use the fattest part of my brown nose pliers right here. I'm just going to form that around there. That needs a cut, flush cut. All right. So there we have it. This one is done all with craft wire instead of using jewelry wire or jump rings. I just strung it all on wire and it makes it more of a bangle. Oh look, it goes with my fingernails. Check it out. All right, and this one was done with beads from the dollar bead bag. All right, so dollar bead bag, Sam's bead box, bargain bead box, curated bead box, and I have two more that I want to do because I remembered about the gemstone orphanage box, And the thing about that is that, like, it's one of my newer boxes and it's one of my favorites. And there were these rondelles that came in the box that were just it was a strand with a mix of colors of rondelles. And they had one that was greens, and they had ones that were like silvers and whites. And I thought those would be great together in a goddess bracelet, where instead of like all the same color on one side, it's the same like color family on one side versus color family on the other side. And also in that bead box they sent us in the findings kit, where did that go? I just had it. In the findings kit we got some memory wire, and so I thought I would grab some of the bracelet size memory wire that came in there and do a bracelet version of a goddess bracelet. So I'll use these to do that. It'll make it kind of a cuff, more like, than like an actual wraparound bracelet. But we'll use this, and let me find, they're usually right here next to my desk because I don't do memory wire stuff without it. My memory wire cutters. It's how you can make sure that you do not ruin your flush cutters when you're working with memory wire. So I've got these, and I think what we're gonna do is probably use some of the jump rings. Let's use these jump rings. They're just plain silver. Plain silver jump rings. Instead of the other ones that were flashy. Get some of these out here. Alright, so for this, I'm going to do jump rings, and so that means that I need to cut 2 lengths of memory wire. I'm just going to fit it around my wrist to the point where it overlaps the wrist a little bit. Right there. So that is 1 length. And now I'm gonna cut another cut for another length of memory wire. So yeah, this video is just all the different ways you can make a goddess bracelet, whether you use stretch cord, whether you use beading wire, whether you use memory wire, whether you use craft wire. We're gonna have some fun doing it all of the ways. And I'm just gonna use some round nose pliers and curl the ends of these in, just to make it easy, or sorry, out away from the wrist, to make it easy for the beads to stay on, and also so we don't have that sharp pointy end. And it's just one end of it that I'm curling that way. I'll do the end on the other one. Boom, 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 boom. Which one is it? I guess it doesn't really matter, since they will all be together anyway. Now they're going to need to be right next to each other, necessarily, so that I can put both jump rings on. I'm going to need to figure out which is which. And I'm going to start with a green one. And then put a jump ring on both of these at the same time. This one's going to be way more fiddly. Hooray! That's what I love. That was a joke. All right, that's all right. We'll get it done. We will make these. And then I'm going to put a clear one on the next one. And a jump ring on both. All right, and this is going to be the most fiddly part, is figuring out which one of these is the next one after the first one. Okay. Whew. Let's get you guys down here to the ends. Okay. Now, this one is green, so let's put on a green. Perfect. Now, oh boy, this is definitely going to be a super fun time for everyone involved. A jump ring on both. Maybe I should be using that craft wire between each of these instead of like that. Okay, so this one's the next one. I'm gonna put a gray one on that one, see, because it's all grays and smokies and white beads on that side. You know what, this is actually gonna look amazing. So it's kind of worth the aggravation, I think. Sometimes things that are difficult to do are the ones that are most worth it. All right, so I need to do a green one next, and that's going to be this one. All right, as it gets closer to the end, it's probably going to be a lot easier for me to do. Take a look at that. That is going to look really good, in my opinion. All right, then we've got our light or white one. Let's see, I did a crystal and then gray. Let's get one of these like more opalescent ones in here. That's beautiful, and it's got that AB finish on it too. Gorgeous. Sparkly, so sparkly. Okay, look, the beads are making me happy. So I can deal with the fiddliness of the memory wire, because the beads are making me happy. Do you know what I did? Look what I did. I forgot to put a jump ring between these two, so I've got to take both of these off. Put a jump ring on. Figure out which of these is the white one again. Okay, so this is obviously going to take all of my concentration. So I am going to do this, and when I come back, we will get it finished up and we'll go back over what we've done so far. Oh, after I do this one, then I'm going to do the ones half and half. One is going to be half goddess bracelet, half regular bracelet. And that one is using the Soft Flex Deco the Halls kit for that one. But yeah, so when we come back, we'll finish this up and then we'll get into the Deco the Halls one, and that'll be the last one that we do in this video. Okay, so let's see, I have a dark green, I have kind of an opalescent one, I have this opaque guy. Is it opaque or is it? Yeah, it's opaque. So let's get one of these emerald green ones with the AB finish on there. I'm having fun with just all the different colors of beads that came on these strands. I love getting bead mixes. They are super fun. And you know what? Having the bead mixes for each side of this goddess bracelet makes it even more fun. So instead of being like just all one color on one side and all one color on the other, it's one color family on one side and one color family on the other. So we're going to have some fun with that. So we're going to have our greens and our silvers. Okay, so I came back and I did this whole explanation and demonstrated how to finish this, and then I realized that it wasn't recording. So rather than start all over again, just to get to the very end of this again, to show you how I ended it, I'm going to explain it. I'm sorry that I'm not demonstrating it in this tutorial. Maybe I'll do a separate tutorial that's just the memory wire ones, and we can actually do a demonstration with that. But this is a really long video. It's already nighttime outside. It's taken me a long time to get through all of these all of these bracelets. And I just wanted to show you kind of what I did with this, the memory wire one. This side has my silvers and whites. This side has my greens. I did not do this in any particular order. I just made sure that I did not have two of the exact same color right next to each other. These are two totally different colors, and so are these. So that's what I did. So they're not in a specific order for this on either side. I think it gives it more of a random look without it being like, it's truly random ones. You'll have like clusters of color somewhere in there. And that like ruins the randomness sometimes. Sometimes you're like, oh, I love that. I don't know. I wasn't feeling that. So one thing that I noticed was, this is where I started, was that the little loop was small enough that it was going through the jump ring. So what I did was I used my chain nose pliers, and just like you would swing open a loop on a simple loop on something that you're making some other place or time or wear, like on an eye pin or something, you'd swing that open, attach something, and then swing it closed. So I swung open that loop, put the jump ring through it, and then swung it closed. So now it's totally and securely attached to this side. Both sides are attached to each other. And then when I got here to the other side, because it's staggered like this on that side, it's staggered on this end as well. So the white silver side is short on this end and long on this end. And the green side is long on this end and short on this end. And I did the same thing with this loop and that jump ring to kind of make it cohesive and connected. So that is the completed memory wire goddess bracelet. And that is the, let's see, how many have I done so far? I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 5 goddess bracelets. And I have one more to do. So one more, and then I can call this a night. Actually, I'm not going to call it a night because I'm going to be editing for probably the rest of the night. And we'll be lucky if we get this uploaded before midnight on Friday. This is how I'm spending my Friday night. But hopefully that'll give you guys some fun things to look at over the weekend. This is going to be a long weekend. It's a holiday weekend. And speaking of holiday weekends and New Year's celebrations, this bracelet might be a really great one to wear to a holiday party or a New Year's Eve party, because I'm using these pearls that came in the Soft Flex Deco the Halls kit. And I originally planned, you saw me pulling these out earlier, I had originally planned to have half with the pearls and then to do like a single strand bracelet with some of these. And then I changed my mind. I am not going to use those. You know what I am going to use is I'm going to have the other half also be a goddess style bracelet. And I'm going to use these silver and black check glass beads that came in the Deco the Halls kit. And that's going to be the other half of this bracelet. And I'm going to use some silver ones, or some silver jump rings for that side. So we're going to have half with the pearl and gold, half with the silver and black, and right in the middle, at the very center, as our focal on this bracelet, I am going to have this druzy, and it's gonna look great. I am already like, I love it already. It's gonna be fantastic. And so I grabbed one of these silver sparkly rhinestoney beads as the instead of this there was a little gold bead that I had pulled out to turn into a drop. I'm gonna use that as a drop. But I am still going to use the gold lobster clasp. So we're going to totally go full-fledged, dive in deep with the mixed metals theme of this bead box. And I went ahead and cut off 2 equal length strands of the Champagne Soft Flex, because I am not sure with the half and half things, I like to kind of work from the center outward so that I'm not making it too long on one end and not long enough on the other. So let's put this guy right in the middle of this, and I am putting both strands through, and it's cut off on both ends, so I'm going to be attaching closure either way. All right, let's find that middle section right there. That's good. All right, so right where that section is, I'm going to grab myself a bead stopper so that I don't accidentally bead too far or too long or with too much. I'm going to move these guys a little bit out of the way so we can concentrate on this end. And this is going to be my pearl end. And these pearl holes, these are natural pearls, and so the pearl holes are not big enough for 2 strands to go through, but that's okay because this druzy has both strands going through. So I can just start right there and then add my jump ring on both strands. And because this is the same color, I don't have to worry about which color I'm going on next. The only thing I have to worry about is which strand I need to go on next. So it's still something that you need to pay attention to when you're doing this, but it's not as important that, you know, you get blue on this one and pink on the other or anything like that. And I was thinking about how this is a really great way, because these are such drastically different sizes, it would be hard for us to do it with them right next to each other like these are. These are much closer together in size and shape, and so they complement each other a little bit better when they're next to each other. Even these like one is larger and one is smaller, it was a bit of a stretch, I think, to get both of these in that for the thing. But these are so drastically different and a different shape that I think if I was trying to have them be all on the same side, like pearl on this side and black on that side instead of pearl pearl, that it wouldn't work out very well. It would look weird. It might be real wonky. And this way I can use both of these beads and make a goddess style bracelet, because it's going to be half and half. It's going to be non-symmetrical, asymmetrical. So half of it will be the gold and pearls and lightness, and the other side will be dark and black and silver on that side. And I'm really excited about this design. I think it's going to be really fantastic. I am looking forward to finishing it, and I'm looking forward to wearing it. And I'm not just saying that because it's the last bracelet of the night, and I've already made a whole bunch of goddess bracelets today. It's been a long day, guys. Oh my goodness. This is that weird week between holidays when, like, you don't even know what day it is. You're just full of cheese and everything is going on. And are you taking your tree down? Are you putting it back up? Are you trying to get some work done? Did your boss assign way too many tasks to you because he figured you wouldn't have enough? And so now you can't get to the tasks that you put scheduled to follow up on and do during your downtime. And so now you're going to start up again next week with just a complete overload on your workload. Is that what's going to happen? I don't know. I hope not. I hope you guys aren't going through the same thing I am. But it is a really great time for sitting down with some beads, enjoying the company of some friends, maybe having a little too much eggnog. Look how great those look together. So I am going to keep going with this until I have about 3 inches, maybe 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 inches. Let's do 3.5 inches on this end, and then I'll get started on the other end. Okay, so here we go. I've got about 3.5 inches of pearls going. So I'm going to switch this over from that end to this end so I don't lose my poils while I am beading on this other side. But look how great those look. I love that look. I love it. And you know what? Just the pearls by themselves would make a really classy, really elegant bracelet. Just the pearls and the gold jump rings by themselves. That would be beautiful, in my opinion. But I'm gonna jazz it up. I'm gonna shake things up with different types of metals and different types of beads on the other side. And that is just what I'm gonna do. So I'm starting with these larger, they're about, I'd say 7mm guys, and then we're gonna use our silver jump rings between them. And again, because I'm not jumping around between 2 different types of beads on this side, I don't have to pay that much attention to which bead I'm picking up, but I do have to pay attention to whether or not I've put a jump ring on, and also what the next side is that I'm going to be adding that bead to. So it does go a little more quickly, and also these are larger beads, so I'm going to get my length a little bit faster with this side than I did with that side, I think. Already it looks great. I'm really happy with this. Really happy with this design. So far, I'm going to be happy with it altogether, not just because I'm finally going to be done making goddess bracelets for today. but also because I'm going to have a fancy pants bracelet that I can wear on New Year's Eve with a little black dress. Yeah. Yeah. This is it. This is the thing. This is what we were leading up to this whole time. So this will be the 6th bracelet that I'm making with y'all today, from the 6th bead box that I'm working with, but it's the 5th type of bracelet, I guess, if it counts that 2 different, like an asymmetrical bracelet is different from the other strung bracelets that we were doing. Does it count? Is it different? Is it different enough? I love this. I love this. I have not very long to go, so I'm actually just going to keep going. I'm not going to turn the camera off because, quite frankly, I am tired of turning it off and on again. I'm tired of turning it on and not really turning it on and then explaining things and then realizing that soul-crushing moment where you're like, I'm gonna have to do this all over again, except you just can't because, oh, look what I did. I was talking, and instead of putting this bead on that side so it goes back and forth, I just put it right on the same strand that I had done before, and that's what it looks like when you make that mistake. So let's put it on the other strand. Because this is, again, I was distracted. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, I hope you guys have been having a good week. It's that weird week when, like, you don't know what day it is, you don't know where your shoes are or your pants, you're just full of cheese, and maybe you're working and maybe you were planning on catching up on tasks that you hadn't been able to get to all year, and then suddenly you can't catch up on those tasks because your boss was like, oh, she's not going to be busy this week. We're going to just go ahead and assign all this other stuff. And then you can't get to those tasks, so you're going to start the new year just completely overloaded and everything is terrible. But, you know, maybe you didn't. Maybe you are going to be able to have a new year that starts off great and keeps going great and everything is great. And look at that. That is just about the right size for that. I'm gonna scoot you guys down a little bit more. And I'm gonna just put one more black bead on here because I wait. I don't think we need to. Wait. You know, nope. We're stopping right here. We are stopping right here. Where are my crimp tubes? Aha. And you know, in that box, they gave us 2 different colors of crimp tubes. We've got the gold filled and the silver because it's a mixed metals box. So this is on theme. This is exactly why they gave us these. So I'm going to just dump both of these out, and I think I want to do the lobster clasp on this side. No way, we're going to do all gold on this side, silver on this side. So let's get this guy over here, that guy over there. And you know what I'm going to do? I am going to just grab one of these, and I'm going to use that little ring, and that's what we're going to be clamping onto with our wires. So I'm going to go through both wires through the crimp tube. I'm going to slide that down here, and then I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to bend it back through, so we've got like 3 strands going through there. No, before I do this, I am going to put this jump ring on there because that's going to be my closure. Now I'm going to go back through the crimp tube. There we go. Let's just go all the way through that bead, maybe. Yeah, let's do it that way. All right. Now I'm going to do my magical crimping. And this is a different wire than the medium soft flex wire that you might be used to, but Magical Crimper still works on it with the 2x2 crimp tube. There we go. And now I'm going to cut that, cut this. That side is done. And now for this side, let's grab a crimp tube. Put that on there. Gonna be right there next to those two. I love it. I love it. Okay. Now I need to do the same thing that I did over there. Remember to put this on here before bending it back through the crimp tube, all the way through the crimp tube. Maybe it'll fit in the crimp tube. And we cannot get 2 strands through these pearls, so I'm just going to go past the pearl over there. Making sure that we are still got some movement. Perfect. All right, now let's get that crimped. You just put it right there, see that concavity? Put the crimp tube right there in that, give it a squish, and then change the angle and squish, change the angle and squish. And you just keep rotating it and then squeezing it. And it smooths down those corners, so you get a nice smooth ball of crimp. Crimp balls, not shrimp balls, crimp balls. All right, now we got our excess wire out of the way. We've got those, and I am going to attach a dangle onto this little ring back here. Actually, maybe not to the ring, maybe just to the wire. And I've got a tiny head pin like that. And honestly, making drops and dangles is the best use for these really tiny head pins. Just sticking my little silver sparkly guy on there. I'm gonna bend this back like so. Gonna measure with the side of my finger. That's about 1 centimeter. And the more you do it, the more you know what part of your finger you want to hold that on to measure it. And then I can cut off my excess before I roll my simple loop. I can use my round nose pliers to bend that back into a simple loop, like that. All right. I can open it, swing it open, attach it to that wire. I like having a dangle on my bracelets because I can hold on to the dangle like that while I am putting my bracelet on. There we go. It's an asymmetrical bracelet. Got mixed metals, half silver, half gold, all the sparkle, more sparkle, and that is that. Let me get this off. And let's recap. Thank you so much for sitting through this whole thing, y'all. It was a long one. I hope it was worth it for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had as much fun watching it as I did making it. I've got a whole bunch of beads to put away now, but I now have several goddess style bracelets. After never having made any of them, I have several all in a row using 6 different bead boxes from December and January. Some of these are January, some of them are December. This one was January. There we go. And we used different techniques for several of these, which makes it kind of fun, I think. But I hope you guys had a lot of fun making these with me. I'm just going to go over which bead boxes they were one more time. The first one we did was the curated bead box for January. This one was a very colorful box, and this is what inspired me to decide that goddess bracelets would be my next Bracelet Bash, because I was like, you know what, I've never made those before. Why don't we do that with these blue and pink ones? So we used the stretch cord that came in that, and we did our stretch cord bracelet with a bail from my stash, and then one of the charms that came in that. This one was from the dollar bead box, and this was actually from the dollar bead bag, and they were 4mm fire polish beads. And we used the craft wire for this so that it would make kind of a bangle with that. And it was the black craft wire wrapped around the outsides of the, let's focus a little bit more, of these check glass guys right there. And actually, look, these two would go together really easily. Anyway, let's keep going. I got distracted. And then this one was memory wire, but we went ahead and used the jump rings instead of craft wire for this. But this is memory wire, and this was using beads that came in one of my more recent newest edition boxes, and that is the Gemstone Orphanage bead box. And then we've got our Sam's bead box, and for this one I really wanted to use this gorgeous button, and then we had our cathedral beads and these amazing fire polish beads that were part of that bead box. And I added some copper jump rings because I love turquoise and copper, and that turned out really well. And we just used some beading wire, and it was turquoise beading wire for this one. Hold on, there we go. And you can see the button. And then for this one, we also used beading wire, and this was the bargain bead box. This was the most recent December bargain bead box. And I used the closures that came in the box. I added these sparkly jump rings, and we used some beading wire for this one as well. And then this one was the Soft Flex design kit, and this is the most recent Soft Flex design kit. It's the Deco the Halls design kit, and we used beading wire that came in the box for that, as well as the closure, and it was just the jump rings that we added and the head pin. Everything else came in that box, and I hope you guys had a really great time. Let me know if you decide you want to make some of these, or if you've made them before, or if there's a particular method that you prefer over any of the others. And I hope you guys have a safe and happy New Year's if I don't see you or talk to you before then. And I hope you're doing well. Bye!